Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. His father was an investigator who was murdered. Matthias Jones became an athlete and coach, but he and Coco Stefani solved his father's murder. Hamilton College on the coast of New Hampshire hired him to coach sports, but getting into murder investigations remains his passion. He knows the cops and the district attorney, Herbert Lane, hate his guts. He's best buds with Coco, a major underworld character, and a good friend of parish priest Father Jim Gallagher. Jones' persistence gains him the upper hand over the cops and the DA and the murderer. Hamilton, New Hampshire. Hamilton, New Hampshire is the fictional New England town located along the New Hampshire coast and bordering the larger city of Prince William. Originally settled by the Fletcher and Hall families, the town is most known for Hamilton College. The college is controlled by the powerful Fletcher family and funded in nefarious ways. The town is littered with eccentric and quite odd citizens with a radically aberrant view of reality. Sometimes, when it comes to murder, the locals are dead on. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. The beginning of the series. Jones wins the National High School Championship and is recruited by Coco Stefani to coach at Hamilton College. But there's a glitch. His dad, a veteran investigator, is murdered and left in his truck at the river's edge. Jones and Coco become friends, tracking down Bill Jones's killer. Their efforts are thwarted by Lester Larson, son of the retiring bumbling coach Lark Larson, as he attempts to prevent Jones from replacing his father as coach. The Prince William Slasher. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. 4 women are brutally murdered in 6 weeks by a killer wielding a razor's deadly blade. Matthias Jones, just taking the reins of coaching at Hamilton College, learns tangentially of the Prince William Slasher. He is introduced at a Hamilton College trustees meeting and catches the eyes of the retired model Pia. Jones and Coco are witness to a 5th gruesome murder, and Jones begins the pursuit of the killer. Jones must deal with the antics of the irascible Arnie Dewars and his goofy friend Muddy Jacobs. The slasher attempts yet another murder and begins taunting Jones on the phone. Pia and Jones begin dating, but Pia has grand designs on the Hamilton College coach. As Jones's basketball team begins winning, the killer threatens him directly with murder. The strange death of Dr. Povich. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. Did Father Jim Gallagher murder Dr. Sergei Povich? The police think so. Povich dies at his observatory from poison at Gallagher's dinner table. Now Gallagher is on the run. Matthias Jones tries to exonerate the priest, but he also suspects his star player, who confided drug use to Dr. Povich. A Povich colleague has stolen vital notes from the doctor's notebook for a book deal. And was Povich's companion, Elsie McIntyre, after his money? Blocking Jones's investigation is a bumbling security cop, Bucky Driscoll. Driscoll clumsily destroys vital evidence, and his constant stupidity annoys Jones' temperamental close friend, a sly underworld figure Coco Stefani. Then a second murder, one of Jones's cheerleaders. While at the funeral in her hometown, Jones finds the evidence he needs to confront the murder. Murder at Tolby Lake. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. Brad Davis is a brilliant genetic researcher working for Hamilton Fletcher and Hamilton College. But Davis's wild life of parties, booze, drugs, and sex makes him many enemies. When he is murdered, a Hamilton College student, Amy Pollard, is found with her personally owned handgun, the gun that killed Brad Davis. Just that afternoon, Davis bloodied his benefactor, Hamilton Fletcher's nose. Lurking in the background is Davis's mob connection to crime boss Albert Fiore in Boston. A Hamilton College professor, Zoe Wilmont, is suspiciously surveilling the lake house area. The Fletchers reach out to Matthias Jones to protect the college's interest and find the murderer. Jones ends up with his nefarious friend Coco Stefani in Boston, eventually confronts the murderer directly. Funeral march for the maestro. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. In Funeral March for the Maestro, the conductor of the Prince William Symphony is murdered with a single bullet, yet 2 shots were fired a minute apart. Beloved coach Lark Larson has tested positive for firing a gun, with the help of wacky locals in Hamilton, New Hampshire, Matthias Jones zeroes in on the real murderer, someone who knew the maestro very well. Anthony's story. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. What became of Anthony Stefani, who disappeared 5 years ago? Within the humor of the wacky characters of Hamilton, New Hampshire, Matthias Jones begins a murder investigation after a bizarre murder in Hamilton. Events turn serious when Jones tracks the killer to New York City and a violent international gang. The investigation crosses the cold case trail of Anthony Stefani. Jones risks his life in a tense confrontation with the gang. The answer to the Hamilton murder yields the secret of the disappearance of Anthony Stefani. The handyman's secret. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. A collision of Lark Larson's new boat with the maintenance free in Hamilton Bay leads to the murder of local handyman Webster Howard. Lark hires an intelligence operative, Detective Clyde Hooper, whose antics annoy and frustrate Matthias Jones's investigation of the murder. Coco Stefani falls in love with a beautiful but innocent brunette, Janet Bordeaux, but JB soon becomes a Jones suspect. Trooper Banastre O'Connell appears to have been romantically involved with the overspending Mabel Howard, Webster's wife. In the middle of the investigation is Reverend John Paul Bricker and his church. From a bar on Cape Cod, Jones and Coco track the killer, while shadowed by Clyde Hooper and his helper, the ever-bumbling Bucky Driscoll. 6 Feet Under. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. Was there an unseen murder in Hamilton 25 years in the past? Matthias Jones begins to wonder what happened to Professor Harrison Mobley decades ago. Did he leave town when of all his enemies descended on his colonial on the common 25 years ago? Or was there foul play? Jones has a side road theory that Mobley may have been murdered. Perhaps in his own house. But it's more complicated. All of the suspects from 25 years ago are alive in Hamilton today, some in prominent positions. And someone does not want Jones uncovering the details of what happened one night at his house so long ago. Murder at the Applegate. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. Matthias Jones's longtime friend Leo Crowley is found dead under a concrete foundation at the Applegate development in Hamilton, New Hampshire. Bonner Development's unsavory owner Bobby Bonner becomes an immediate suspect because of his activities around the time of Leo's murder. The belligerent attitude of Bonner's construction superintendent Scott Gleason begins confronting Jones and Coco Stefani as they delve into the murder. Dennis Kruchek, who lured Leo out to the site, has disappeared, and Kim Rose, a tall blonde, seemingly is deeply involved in the development. Watching over the development is the pugnacious Red Croc, Bonner worker on the site, who will instantly pick a fight with anyone. As always, District Attorney Herbert Lane tries to block Jones's efforts. Jones finds love with his friend Franny McShane, but needs counseling from Father Gallagher when fate takes a turn for the worse. Deader than dead. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. Hamilton Fletcher, leader in the town, industry, and patriarch, is murdered in his study. His money-grubbing daughter was on the Fletcher estate in the carriage house. A gun-toting neighbor lurked in the shadows. The company controller may have wanted more power. And the fired groundskeeper was upset with Hamilton Fletcher. Matthias Jones finds Hamilton dead at his computer, with a mystery file called Jersey Imports on the screen. After being shot at on numerous occasions, threatened and targeted for murder, Matthias Jones locates the accused. Of course, the local yokels impede and help him solve the murder, all with much LOL. The life and times of Charlie Diaper. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. Mob boss Albert Fiore is under suspicion of fixing races on Channel Z, a nationwide gambling video feed. To clear himself of the charges, Fiore plans to implicate Charlie DiPiero, former mob boss now suffering from dementia. Coco Stefani was brought up in DiPiero's organization and has an unyielding loyalty to his boss. In this backdrop, a Mustang explodes behind Coach Matthias Jones's baseball game. As Coco disappears, Jones follows a lead to find out why the car exploded. Sidetracking the investigation is boisterous sports writer Billy Bobcat. In the course of turning up clues, Jones uncovers the truth, but also faces Fiore wrath. Johnny's back in town. Murder, mayhem, and monkey business. While bowling in a charity bowling tournament for kids without fathers, Chet McLaughlin, a professor at Hamilton College, is gunned down in the Bolorama bowling alley. Matthias Jones hears two distinct shots. Why was the wacky desk manager Bum Bumpus and his wife Trixie wearing earbuds during the shooting? The prominent gangster Johnny Stefani, Coco's estranged father, was seen hovering at the bowling alley before the shooting, as was the young hoodlum Mark Pereira, who left the alley right after Chet McLaughlin was shot. Only Coco's prowess and inside knowledge establishes a professional killing. After credible death threats, Jones and his fiancée Franny McShane are advised by P.J. Fletcher to leave the area for a few days. But Jones and Coco only get into deeper trouble as they head to northern New Hampshire. A cataclysmic, shocking ending brings together the major suspects with Jones and Coco.